hello, and an early good evening out here in Tahiti. This is AOK Games. We haven't been around for a while because we were temporarily closed here due to schooling and accomplishing and finishing up degrees, college work, things of that nature. But hopefully back better and stronger than ever. Yes, this is the 414 Chancellor by Cessna. It is a obvious dual propeller driven, piston powered gasoline burning aircraft. We have the GPU here, and as I said, we are out in Tahiti, and we're going to be going someplace that you may or may not have seen before. The place is called the Brando, and it's essentially a private atoll that was originally, and still I do believe, is owned by none other than a one Marlon Brando and family themselves, which is an exotic private island that you can only get through reservation to and from by a private airplane company that obviously offers flights out there chartered, and they have a single strip. We're going to be going in there today and checking out that location. But before we do that, let's go ahead and hop on board this extraordinary aircraft and start our route on out there today. Again, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoy the flight. Yes, and welcome on board. Let's go ahead and close these doors up so that we don't leave this big opening while we're going through the sky. To do that, we'll go to the piloting command position, basically, and I am going to close them through this nifty little included pad here. So we're going to leave the GPU started that way. We cannot drain the battery. First things first, of course, we already have the fuel shutoff valves from the tanks into the working position. Also, if you notice through the flight, this throttle, left and right, port and starboard throttle is wiggling around a little bit. It's because my Thrustmaster joystick is, I don't know if the potentiometer's gone bad or whatever. However, it may wiggle, and that's essentially just because it needs to be replaced, so just bear with me there. Obviously, we have our starboard engine priming here, and then I'm going to go ahead and prime the left engine, aka port, accordingly. Let's go ahead and throw the fuel pump on for the auxiliary pump. There we have our pitch and our trims for the the pitch trims for the propellers full forward, and the mixtures full forward, full rich. We are essentially at sea level. Let's go ahead and turn the magnetos on, see if we can't not get this thing fired up. Let's just give us a little crack throttle. Go ahead and attempt to start. Obviously, propeller area is clear. Alright, we got a good light off, so let's see if I can't not bring that up to about, I don't know, 1,000 maybe RPMs. Don't want to fry any of the valves on the cold engine. They do say this is a study, quote-unquote study level aircraft, which I tend to enjoy those. So we'll pull the auxiliary fuel pump off for the starboard and turn on the auxiliary pump for the fuel on the port. So let's go ahead, as it was pre-primed, and attempt to crack that throttle as well as start that engine. Okay, and another successful light off. Let's see if we can get her up to, again, 1,000, maybe 1,100 near the other one. Okay, we'll let these two engines run up, as it were. We'll remove the auxiliary pump at this moment. We got taxis, navs, anti-collisions, yes. We'll throw on the alternators, fantastic. And we'll let the engines warm up. I'm also going to turn on the avionics bus. We no longer need the GPU, so hey, you out there, please help us remove the GPU. Thanks a lot. Power off and dismount this. How about a little bit of ambience for the engine noise? I always like the way these turbocharged piston engines sound in this game. Quite amazing. So yes, we are working as well with the PMS-50 GTN 750. I went ahead and preloaded the checklist, also an accessorized downloaded item from the PMS-50 store. This is obviously the premium edition. So I went ahead and also got ourselves a flight plan here from SimBrief. So let's go ahead and head out to the internet, pull this data up from our port here, November Tango Alpha Alpha to November Tango Tango Echo. also known as the Brando. Okay, so it does not want us actually going above 2,000 feet. As I said, this is only about a 35 nautical mile route, give or take, but I want to get a little bit better fuel efficiency, so let's head to 5,000 feet, especially with the cloud cover being a little bit higher. Fantastic. Now, one of the nice things I like about this is the procedures. What's cool about this is, well, let me go back real quick and show you the map, and then I'll zoom out and show you our flight plan. So, as you can see, there really isn't too much to interact with going from origin to destination, one waypoint, as it were. So, what we could also do is let's just look and see if there's any arrival data. Brief wants us to fly in on runway 6, so we'll do the visual 6. That's 06. We'll load the approach, but then let's go back and let's look at the map. I love the touchscreen aspect of the PMS 50 GTN 750. You can just kind of click and drag on it if you're not already familiar with this product. I highly recommend it in every single plane. Steam gauge, glass cockpit, it doesn't matter. This thing's awesome. What else is really cool about this kit here is that I also have the ability, and as everyone else out there would have, the ability to throw on sensor data. It gives you all kinds of fuel information about how much fuel you have, how far you can go, how much is left at the location, beyond that, so on and so forth. I also love the calculations here. So let's go ahead and say that our target altitude is 0 feet. Let's say we want to go to the approach. We'll say 300 feet on final. So we'll go ahead and hit 300 target altitude when we are at the final for 300, and we want an offset of 0. So what this is going to do is allow us to be told when, or we can even manually check when the vertical speed drops to a point where we literally want to be at 300 by a specific point. I'm going to say 2,500 feet a minute, which is fairly high pitch angle, negative pitch angle, because we're only going to 5,000 feet. So if we're dropping 2,500 feet per minute, you know, it's only going to take, what, 2 minutes to get to essentially 300 feet? So no big deal. We'll program that in there. I also like this feature, being able to program with the API the Bing Maps. So it gives you the roads, gives you the satellites. You can actually scroll around this as if you were in the Bing Maps on the internet there and see all the things around the area. So obviously it's pulling that off of Bing Maps. It's really nice for reference, you know, being able to check out the runways as it places you on the runways. And it's a very nice feature. So with that being said, let's stop wasting time. Let's get on out of here. Engines are warming up. Everything's good. Let's go ahead and check these off. You can just click on them. That's so cool. Seat belts, it's just us today. Fuel, main tanks, landing gear selector down. Prop sync. This is before starting, even though we already started. This is all good. Battery switch, gear position lights, all good. Totalizer, we have 50% fuel. Next checklist, propellers were clear, magnetos both armed left and right, mags 1 and 2, engines started. Avionics on, and we will finish up the set by going to our altimeter and setting the altimeter to what it should be, which apparently is 2992, magic cheat button, entered it for us. So, brakes check, flight instruments, and then next. Engine run up throttles, left and right, flow lights, alternators check, vacuum system. We'll do all that in just a second. Do not want to deal with any of the noise rules here, if there are any. So, we'll text you out a little bit. This is all good. Let's make sure. Pulled to close. Let's open those up, because we want to have maximum cooling on the ground. Close for startup. Heat the oil up in the engine cylinders and, you know, the valves and everything else. But now that we're good, we can bring that down a little bit. Yes, I did say that this was pressurized. That's okay. We're not going to use the pressurization, we are only going to go to approximately 5,000 feet. So with that, I'm just literally going to use the air conditioning, and we'll just let it, you know, reach 5,000 feet cabin altitude. But that's okay, because, you know, we're not going to oxygen mass levels for that. Hopefully, any of yous on board should be okay with that. Let's go ahead and make sure that our CDI changes over to GPS, and then we should be ready for that. I wonder if I can throw the flight director on, and maybe we can pre-program this for navigation. Maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. It's okay. We'll just run it as it is. 200 on the absolute altitude. That's looking good. Lights are good. And we will throw in some little bit more temperature here. You know, I know that's corny, but hey, what else are you going to do in a study level quote-unquote aircraft if you're not actually manipulating the gauges, right? So let's go ahead and remove the parking brake, and then let's go ahead and test those brakes. Right and left both function. Fantastic. You can hear the whistle, those turbochargers hopefully over my voice here. See if we can get some more whistle. Awesome. We'll just do our run up over here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just bring this up. Parking brakes on. We will check our gauges. RPM approximately 2100 here. See, good cylinder head temperature, good oil pressures, both engines. Exhaust gas temperatures in the green. Cool. Let's try our magneto dropouts. Looking for the right engine there. Little drop. And back up. And we'll check the left hand magneto. Little drop and up. And the left engine. Manifold pressure and RPM. A little bit of drop. Not much. That's good. Left hand little drop. And back up. Okay. So with that, let's go ahead and line up. We are supposed to depart from wherever it is they tell us. We're not really going to be using the ATC today because with the rework and everything with that, I've had, you know, just a little bit of annoyances with that. So just leave it off. Pitot heat is on. Avionics good. Cabin heat good. Everything's good. There. Okay. Alternators, vacuum systems, magnetos, propellers, check. Throttle is 1000. Okay. That's one thing we'll check as we go out. We still are on main tanks. Push down. Cowl flaps open. Trims to take off. We are in takeoff. Flaps to settings. Prop sync off. Flight instruments set. Lights, cabins, pressurization only going to 5,000. Annunciator, auxiliary to high. Controls, ice, belts. Throw that back in there. Full left, full right, back, down, side of the way. Left brake, right brake, left rudder, right rudder, and then now that we can see, full back, full down. Study level, so I suppose it's worth it. Might as well, right? Set our altitude to 5,000 feet. Okay, and then let's go ahead and select next. Okay, runway align, landing lights, power, mixture, take off. Okay. Now, before we get out there, let's go ahead and literally run up these engines as we're going out, we'll check the propeller pitch, make sure that they're both working. And a drop. Back to full. And a drop. Back to full. Okay. So, check both sides. One thing I like about the GTN 750 here is being able to actually zoom in. If you're unfamiliar with your surroundings, you can see exactly what the taxiways are like. So we are going to turn left, back taxi the runway, and take off from 4. Okay. And we'll check again. We'll check again. I'll get on down there. I'll line up for the runway, and then after that, I will bring you guys right back. So go ahead and pause yourselves, get a quick whatever you can do in 2 seconds or less, and I'll be right back. Alright, here we are, lined up, runway 04, getting ready to head on out of here. Everything's been checked off, landing lights are extended and deployed, pressurization is good. Let's go ahead and close up our window here and lock it, hopefully. There we go, and locked. Let's go ahead and departure our strip here, and we'll go out to the Brando. I'm going to bring these power levels up. We have a long strip here. As I said previously, please pay no mind to the jumpy throttles. Okay. Try to hold a higher position here. That way, in the cockpit, you can not have to see that fairly erratic looking power lever, excuse me, jumping all around. So hopefully everybody's having a great day today. Hopefully it'll be better when you see just how amazing the Brando atoll is. Positive rate, gear up. Let's go ahead and fly runway heading here. Study level aircraft, so I'm going to pitch for 110 plus knots, and we'll aim for that blue line on the airspeed indicator. That way, if we do lose an engine, anything at that line and failed engine would constitute a safe airspeed to continue to fly on one engine. So if we're above that, it's okay, because we're at a low enough pitch angle with our nose where it won't be a problem, and we should not stall. So obviously this is a turbocharged aircraft, which means we are running boosted manifold pressure here, upper deck. It means we're going to have to bring the manifold pressure back to a more reasonable rate within the green arc. Let's go for about, I don't know, maybe 32 manifold, and we'll bring the props back a little bit, maybe 2400, as I sloppily fly the magenta line, going up at about 750 feet a minute, hopefully towards 5,000. I'm going to go ahead and get us ready to go into the autopilot so that we can enjoy the scenery. Flaps are now being fully retracted. We are climbing, and I'm going to go ahead and throw on the propeller sync so that our engines function in harmony together. No excessive vibrations, anything of that matter. Okay, so that's basically trimmed there. No hands-on controls. We are in autopilot. Let's see if we can go to nav mode. I'm going to go ahead and hit the suspend OBS and cancel that, and then we will go back to CDI, GPS. Hopefully the plane will pick that up on our way to 5,000. Vertical speed, let's go down about 1,000 feet a minute here. GPS mode. Okay, we're being contacted by ATC. I can barely hear them. That's great. Frequency change approved. Thanks a lot. See you later. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit here. Fantastic. Excellent airplane for a 35-mile flight. Fantastic. Let's see if I can trim her down just a little bit. 3,100 feet. Going to use the heading button for a while here. Actually, let's go ahead and just put it back in nav for now. And as I said before, I'm hoping to bring quite a bit more content to the channel, of course. There was that pause, for sure, but hopefully that'll change soon, and we'll start putting more things out there to view. That would definitely be good. So we're just going to head up almost to 5,000 feet already. And it's such a short flight, it's almost, I would say, unnecessary to use the autopilot. Traveling at about 145 knots indicated. So let's just go ahead and enjoy this aircraft for what it is. Trim. And then we'll be good. Islands right out there off of our nose are definitely where we are headed. Just a little bit of altitude to go. Always like to trim my aircraft as appropriately as possible so that, you know, it doesn't translate as well maybe in the simulator, but of course in real life, having to maintain a constant forward pressure on the yoke or aft pressure is just a strain on the brain and the muscles. But in the simulator, that doesn't necessarily translate into why you would fly hands-free. Basically, wings level, no altitude gain, no altitude loss, hands-free, trimmed out, flying clean, no gear down, no flaps. We're just maintaining our course. This is what we want. So I'm actually going to fly a perimeter around the airport when we get there, because I'd like for you to see how awesome this is. It is, of course, I must disclaimer this, it is, of course, DLC aircraft. Was not, of course, in my unprofessional opinion, that much money to begin with. So very, very reasonable price for quite a dramatic change. And if you're going to a place called the Brando, named after Mr. Marlon Brando, or Marlon Brando himself, you sort of have to do it justice, right? Can't fly into a dog kennel for such a highly exclusive place. And I'm not going to go ahead and mention how much it costs to stay at the Brando. If you're interested, check it out yourself. It is quite the pretty penny. Matter of fact, quite a couple pretty pennies. But it would be the exclusive getaway, in my opinion, of a lifetime. So it's worth looking into. For sure. Let's go ahead and get an external view. Of course, Tahiti. Just absolutely beautiful weather. Beautiful aircraft. Lots of power for a piston twin. I would say I like this aircraft just as much as I like the Cessna 310. Also, quote-unquote, study-level aircraft. Both amazing planes. I really like what distinguishes these aircraft for me is when you say quote study level, I like how you can damage the engines. I like how you can experience failures. That gives you that added degree of realism that some of the standard aircraft, obviously if not all of them, do not offer from the standard packages, which is really, really neat to be able to experience in this. I also like the ones when you can add the weight in the positions and it makes the people sit in the seats, because that way you really feel like, you know, without this being Flight Simulator 2024, obviously upcoming, and all of the features that are inevitably going to be added to that, it doesn't give you the option here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 to do quote-unquote these types of missions. So seeing those people in the seat, you can kind of make up your own environment, can't you, where you can just say, okay, well, I'm going to add these people and take them somewhere. Just my two cheesy cents there, but in the event that that also tickles your fancy, that's what I say, go for it. It's fantastic when you have those sorts of activities that make the product more engaging. So we're just trying to fly the flight director bars here in the HSI. That being part of our quote-unquote six-pack. Artificial horizon. Hey. Not bad. So right there at 5,000 feet. And essentially flying course. Top of descent. Now that's what I was talking to you about basically with the aircraft essentially being able to tell you with the vertical calculations, right? So you're talking about, let me go back here, throw it in the level so we fly safe here. When you come back in the V calculation, it tells you you're going to be descending in a minute or less. But if you wanted to descend at less than 2,500 feet per minute, as we have set for pre-calculation at 300 feet by final, you could do it now at 1,600 plus. But to stick with our plan, we're just going to go back, for argument's sake, and look at the map and show you that top of descent begins at top of descent. So that would be our 2,500 foot down mark, essentially to get to 300 feet by final. Now you can see we're almost already there. So rather than completing that final, I am going to go down, as I just wanted to show you that. Those are atolls out there with Brando. What I want to do though is hit that top of descent. We'll go down practically 2,500 feet as stated, and then we'll do that circle of the island. We'll come back, we'll land, and you can see just how incredible of an area this is, in my opinion. Quite fitting too is at the time of this video they literally just released the Caribbean update, Caribbean, however you would say, and these visuals are, in my opinion, quite in line with, you know, this whole Caribbean redo theme, which is really neat. So you're going to hear that noise. It's complaining that my landing gear isn't down, but what are we going to do? We're not landing yet, so I'll try to keep the throttles at a more reasonable rate. Let's go ahead and lower the propeller RPM just a bit. As always, flying manual, so I'm constantly trying to move the pitch wheel ever so slightly just to keep the aircraft in trim with essentially hands-off flight. Approaching that 200 knot airspeed there. Definitely don't want to overspeed the aircraft. There is the strip. So let's go ahead and hop outside real quick and take a nice look at that. Very cool. It actually has, you know, the island and the houses, all the things, the pool on the corner back there, has all the things that you don't typically see. I suppose in the standard version of the airport, yes it is here, but believe me, I checked it out before purchasing the DLC, and it was not the most attractive thing, but quite a secured private place. As I said, quite an expensive establishment to visit. However, it is absolutely exclusive. I know they say that, you know, Mr. Brando and family were out here setting this private island up, and it was to escape, you know, the madness, presumably, of everyday bustle and hustle in Los Angeles, as Mr. Brando was a extremely famous movie star. And this was more than likely serenity, peace of mind, relaxation. As we are not currently relaxating over here due to the turbulence from those trees. That is not me. Let's go ahead and fly essentially this downwind from November Tango Tango Echo. And that's where we came from, off of our left winglet out there. Very nice. Not too much out here, to be honest with you. But I suppose that's the beauty in nature. Coming out here and experiencing what I would say is quite a nice place on the planet. Alright. So, I am going to start heading down towards the final at 300 feet. Of course, we're still on the downwind leg here. .1,100 feet. Shall turn left towards base. Alright, everything looks good. Still have all of our lights on, landing lights, fuel pumps, auxiliary. They were all left on because this flight was super close. Okay, 800 feet. Let's go to the next climb. We've been through all these stages. Altimeter was good. Prop sync there. Let's go ahead and turn our prop sync off. And approach descent. Altimeters, radar altimeter. Minimum is 200. Fantastic. Okay, let's turn base. 130 knots. Let's go ahead and lower the gear. And you can hear the wind noise. Sort of sounds like space shuttle taking off. But that's okay. Auxiliary fuel pumps on low. Lights, wing flaps, prop sync off, AC cabin heat is required. Okay, let's go ahead and throw these pumps on to low and line up for the straight in the visual for final approach. Gonna keep the flap speed up. Rather, if I keep the flaps up, we'll keep the speed up. That'll get you guys to a landing quicker. And I'll go ahead and throw the propeller RPMs back up. 2550. Do not want to overspeed those or the engine in case we have to do a go around. We'll pull power back. Still maintain 1,000 feet. Dropping at 500 per minute. Again, always trimming out for hands-off flight. And throwing in another notch of flaps there. And to be the first. And I'm going to bring power up just a little bit to maintain that airspeed now that we have that parasitic drag of the flaps. Throw in another notch. Got a message on the GTN. You have arrived, more or less. got to be wheels on pavement first before we arrive. Anything after that, we go in the drink. Anything before, we go in the drink. Let's go full flaps. And that power. Coming in at approximately 108 knots. I'd rather be a little fast than too slow. That way we have a little bit of extra energy in here, just in case anything happens to any of the engines. We're not in dire strait immediately. And there's the marker. And here we are for runway 6. 06. Full power. Brakes, that's okay. Nobody's upchucked yet. Let's go ahead and get some more sweet engine sounds in here. I'm gonna pull down here, make this U-turn, and then we'll clean up the aircraft on the way back. Single pilot operation. Mention that as to say, let's not overload the pilot with too much workload. No one else here to cover. Yeah, so there you go. You can forget about the drink. How about the rocks? Solar power panels for the island. Not really sure what you do for food out here. I would assume you gotta get it shipped in or flown in, obviously, but what that costs would probably explain partially why it costs so much to visit this place on a private holiday. Just the cost of living here is, well, I can't even imagine. Visiting is enough for me to throw in the towel. Quite a little busy parking lot we have here. So we're gonna go ahead and try to be as courteous as we can here for all of these super rich people. I am going to try to pull up front and center. Let's go ahead and arch the nose of our plane here. This smiling guy. Let's try to keep him smiling. That's why you always do a brake check. Okay, so parking brakes on. Let's go ahead and say there was somebody already here that knew we were going to be here. So we'll call him on our nice little pad here and we'll say, please bring out the GPU and connect it. That way I can get these engines off and get rid of that noise abatement. Let's throw off the landing lights, let's throw off the taxi lights. And that way we're not blinding people. Just go ahead and pull the mixtures to cut off. And that is through with. Let's go ahead and pull our props back to feather. Let's go ahead and turn all of this off, the circulation system. We can go ahead and open the upper cabin door first and then the lower, as that is the way it's done there. Put that away. Alright, let's clean the aircraft up. We will remove magnetos both starboard and port. The auxiliary pumps are off, alternators are off, nav lights are off, anti-collision is off. Okay, we are done there. Let's go outside and take a look. Yup. November 427, Romeo Charlie. November 427, Romeo Charlie. Like I said, it's a cool place. Short flight. Content in, get yous out. Everybody enjoys the rest of their day. So thank you for stopping by today and checking out this awesome airplane. Hopefully you enjoyed what you saw, and I'll throw up some information in the description below for the airplane, the airport, the simulator, you know, the standard stuff. I am trying to stream on Twitch now. I do have a channel that's linked in the bio of the AOK YouTube website channel. So if you want to look for that, be my guest. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Hopefully, many more to come. I wish you a happy 2024. And with that, I'll see you later. Goodbye.